Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for making it here. I know there were some challenges with some of the invites and links and all that kind of stuff. So excited. So excited to have you all here today to talk about AI and LTV. If as you're coming in, you want to drop in the chat where you're dialing in, calling in from, and maybe what organization you work for, if you want to. We would love to hear that. Oh, here we go. Las Vegas. Oh, London. Chicago. Oh, Alex is going to when are you going to Chicago, Alex? Next week? 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's like next week. I'm going to go to Chicago for a weekend. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Oh, someone from Montreal. Go Habs, but it's a rough time for us Habs fans. So Vancouver, San Diego. Oh, Daniel said it's a good time to come to Chicago, Alex.
I know. Chicago in the summertime is the time I want to go to Chicago.
So pretty. I know. I agree.
And I have not done one of those architecture tours yet. I've been to Chicago a few times, but I haven't done an
Oh,
architecture tour, and I'm looking forward to it.
so fun on the boat. They're really, really fun. Really
Yeah.
good. Orange County, Toronto, Baltimore, Vancouver. Okay, lots of folks calling in from all over. Well, we'll go ahead and get started as people join, but we're so thrilled to have you here. Let me share my screen and we can get going. So showing up okay for everybody, Margaret, Alex? Does it look okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So more monthly donors, higher gifts. So we're going to kind of be shining a spotlight on Margaret and the Canadian Cancer Society and how they used AI to drive donor lifetime value in their program. Just a couple quick housekeeping notes. After the webinar, you will be sent a link to rewatch this webinar, and then you can, of course, share it with any colleagues or come back to it anytime. And any resources that come as part of the webinar will also be sure to send after the completion of the webinar. There is a section here for questions. We'll save Q&A for the end just so we can make sure we get through all the content today, but we would love to have some questions at the end to respond to. So if you have a specific question, you can feel free to pop it in the questions part. You can also put it in the chat. I think we've got some folks who are looking at or monitoring the chat, but we would love to answer any questions you have based on today's webinar. And just a quick intro, my name is Jess Tiberio, and then I am joined here today by Alex and Margaret. And I think we'll each do a little introduction when we get to our section so we can tell a little bit more about ourselves. Okay, I think, Alex, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. So let's dive in and talk about the AI landscape. Let's talk about the concept of monthly donors and a little bit about Fundraise Up. But first, I just wanted to introduce myself. So my name is Alex. I am based in the Philadelphia area, and I lead solutions consulting here at Fundraise Up. I am a big fan of the outdoors. So you see a lot of nature in these photographs. I also am picking up art for the first time. So, I've been doing these little like paint and sips, which are great. And there's a little picture of a robot there because the way that I actually got involved in nonprofits is way back in high school. I was on a robotics team, so we built competitive robots. But our team also sponsored Alex's Lemonade Stand and got to work directly with that foundation. And just such an amazing experience that I've carried with me. So that's a little bit about me. And let's go into kind of like a little bit about Fundraise Up. So Fundraise Up is a global fundraising platform, and we are focused on helping nonprofits raise more money. Just as importantly, we want to talk about where we fit in the technical ecosystem. At our core, we're the AI-powered donation platform that's designed specifically to help modernize donor experiences. And what that means is we plug into the existing donation infrastructure, CRM, et cetera, in order to maximize the donor experience and ultimately raise more for the mission. And as we start talking about today's focus, right? Today's focus is about monthly donors and AI. But let's start talking about monthly donor behavior. And so if we shift focus to the market forces that are driving modern giving on the next slide, you'll see that the 2026 donor is really like fundamentally different. Fundraise Up's entire architecture is built to address these different trends that we're seeing. And so first, let's talk about mobile traffic. For the first time ever, donors are giving more on mobile than they are in any other platform. And so having a true fast experience with rapid checkout is really, really essential. Having the ability to support wallets and one-click checkouts mean that you're capturing more of those monthly donors that are coming more and more from their mobile devices. Attached to that mobile traffic is that high social ROI. So if you go on your phone, and you can do this, you can actually like look up how much time you spend on your phone and how many hours a day, and on what apps. I will not share how many hours that I spend on my social apps, but it's pretty high. But the good news with that is that social actually drives the most ROI when it comes to monthly recurring donors, with TikTok and Facebook and Instagram outperforming that monthly donor capture from any other source, which is huge. Let's talk about the subscription mindset, talking about our phones, right? I've got some 99-cent a month subscriptions to different apps, but we're all pre-programmed for this like subscription model mentality. All of our video streaming and our social networking apps, they gear us toward a subscription mindset. And so we can leverage this sort of subscription mindset when we talk about recurring growth. Fundraise Up approaches this with our AI-powered nudges that encourage one-time givers to just consider becoming sustained regular givers. And when we do that, and Margaret will talk a little bit about how this applies directly to the organization, we see a massive increase in the amount of folks moving to monthly giving. And then let's talk about email drop-off. This phenomenon of like high intent that gets lost in a complicated process. Our recovery logic, right? You want to think about how we recapture folks that are maybe getting disengaged, ensures that we can recover donors that have high intent and welcome them into that monthly giving community. So these are big drivers, and the core idea here is that when you future-proof your revenue by meeting donors where they are, right, on their phones with high intent, but also with a little bit less patience. We want everything instantly. That's how you can gather more monthly donors to the organization. And all of this data that I'm presenting is part of a really larger study called Pulse of the Donor. And we did this in conjunction with Stripe. And we can send this information out after the session. We can also access it directly on the website. And there's huge amounts of insights into how donors are behaving. And you can learn more and more about how AI and monthly donors are interacting as the donation landscape continues to evolve.
Yeah, and I think as we see with our clients, we're seeing clients leverage AI in lots of different ways when it comes to fundraising. And really all of these lead to higher LTVs from their donors. So we're seeing donor and prospect identification through using some modeling tools or predictive modeling. Also, Performance Max has donor identification and prospect identification tools. Margaret will speak a little bit to that. Definitely, we're seeing people leverage AI in donor communication. So much has come in terms of automation and with email providers, for example, MailChimp, Salesforce, Marketing Cloud. engaging networks, we're able to do a lot more with automation. And obviously with the advancements with large language models and agents, even being able to start drafting content that can then sit in a fundraiser's inbox for them to review and send out at mass. Predictive analytics, predictive modeling, tools like Dataro, we're seeing clients leverage AI in that way. And then, of course, AI-powered conversion optimization, which this is really kind of Fundraise Up's bread and butter and where they kind of sit in AI in the fundraising landscape. And what was typically kind of a legacy infrastructure, and this is not a real CRM system, so I don't get, nasty messages, but it was kind of this idea of like one platform does it all, but like kind of, right? It was this umbrella type tech structure where the CRM, the database, the email marketing, donation forms, reporting, and analytics all sat under one platform. And they all kind of had limitations, and we kind of just had to deal with it. There was data being siloed in specific parts of the CRM. And the fundraiser doesn't have the ability to kind of pick and choose what's going to work best for them. And it's the idea of like one login, one invoice, but there's a lot of limitations with that kind of one size fits all, because as we know, everyone has different needs at different parts of their organization. Alex, you want to cover AI, kind of how we've changed?
Yeah, and so when you think about that, right, that legacy infrastructure, it's hard to use AI optimization in every part of that. And so when we look at incorporating AI into the donor experience and the fundraising experience, we want to think of it not as sort of a point in time, but as part of the infrastructure. And so Fundraise Up has kind of added this new layer and a new way to think about your tech stack, where we go from a one size fits all to really a bespoke best in class by building a layer that sits on your site and feeds into the CRM that will then feed into your email marketing that can then further personalize how folks are experiencing their donation forms and give you the best in class analytics. And so what do we mean by this sort of new layer and AI donor experience optimization? We mean the right asks at the right time, using every single data point that we know about a donor, even if we don't know who they are. So things like, what have they done on the site so far? Where are they located? What time of day is it? All of these things actually have tremendous impact into how much someone is likely to give. And when we start to unlock that information, we start to reduce friction even further by proposing the right ask amounts, by proposing the right ask arrays, by intelligently understanding who is likely to become a monthly donor and offer them the ability to become a monthly donor in a one-time flow. So this personalization with that best ask model, with native integrations into CRMs and open API infrastructures, really allow us to reimagine what the recurring first funnel looks like.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about AI as part of this. Now let's just kind of the AI trends. Let's look at LTV trends and kind of really the shift that we're seeing in the marketplace towards digital monthly acquisition from an LTV landscape. But first, my name is Jess. I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm very fortunate. We live less than a mile from the beach. So we're there often. My oldest son there is at the beach, but I have 3 boys. We also love to travel. We very recently went to London for the first time, or took our kids to London for the first time. And my youngest son's name is Benjamin. And I think I have 100 photos of him in front of Big Ben because he just could not get over the fact that there was a large building named after him. We have a geriatric dog, Hank, who's there. And then in my spare time, when I'm not running after the kids, I love to garden, and Margaret and I talk about our gardens, and we send pictures to each other of our flowers. So I'm in my, what is it called? Grand millennial. I guess it's a real grand millennial moment for me. And in my professional life, I work at STella. I am the senior director of digital fundraising strategy, and STella is ST, which is kind of our mothership agency, is ST's digital fundraising engine. And we work with our clients to accelerate digital revenue. And that's what I have the pleasure of doing with clients like CCS, and I get to work with great folks like Margaret. Okay, and so what we're seeing kind of in the shift in the marketplace in terms of LTV is that as clients' acquisition costs continue to increase in a lot of some of the traditional acquisition channels, we're needing to make sure that the donors that we're acquiring are profitable from an LTV prospective donor. So it means everything we're doing is kind of moving away just from getting necessarily a conversion, which is very important, but how do we get the most out of that conversion? And really the number one indicator when we're looking at LTV is retention. Retention will really tell you the type of donor that is going to have the highest LTV opportunity. So I would encourage you to look to your current database and look at your donors and say, which donors have the highest LTV? Those are the donors we need to prioritize. And I will say averages, COVID was obviously for lots of reasons a wild time, but then it kind of skewed with some of the metrics that we were seeing around COVID, but averages have really kind of stabilized post-COVID. And so what we're seeing, when we took the most recent kind of retention benchmarks, Pulse of the Donor being one of the reports, we looked at M&R, we looked at a Blackbaud Summit. What we're seeing is that new donor retention is around a range of 18 to 23%. So that's an average we're showing here. And really, if a donor has not converted it to a second gift in their first year, their LTV is essentially capped at that first gift. So if you don't get that second gift, that donor's kind of spoken for, lost. If you're able to get the second gift, we then see a retention rate around 58 to 63%. And so that increases their LTV by nearly 3 times. So just getting someone to make a second gift is a huge indicator of their LTV. And then finally, if you're able to move them from giving a second one-time gift to actually giving monthly or in a sustaining recurring giving, then that represents the highest LTV segment, which often providing a 400% higher LTV in a one-time period than one-time donors over a 5-time period. And in fact, average LTV of monthly donors is 7.77 years. So once you get that monthly donor, on average, they're staying typically on file for a very long time. And it really just takes between 5 to 6 months of someone giving around $24 a month to outpace a one-time gift of $126 of cumulative value. So even a very low conversion rate generates outsized returns when we're talking about monthly donors. So the opportunity for us and what we get really excited about is when we talk about digital and the LTV opportunity we see there. So this data comes from the M&R benchmarking report, which came out in April. It's a great benchmarking study because they have a large data set of North American organizations who participate. And what's really exciting to me about this particular graph is that we see that the share of online revenue coming from monthly donors continues to increase. So it's one thing to say, hey, great, Jess, yeah, monthly donors, we get it. They're really valuable. But are the trends that there's more monthly donors out there to acquire? And this indicates that, yes, there are. Digital donors are deciding more and more to give monthly versus one time. And I truly do think that's because there's platforms out there, Fundraise Up being the main one, that makes it easier for people to not only complete a conversion, but convert to monthly. And historically, we've seen monthly has been thought of more of like a second priority or a cherry on top, like, okay, yeah, we'll have a monthly option if they want to give monthly. But we're seeing more and more organizations are making an effort to acquire monthly donors and drive a true monthly first approach. And that means more and more revenue is coming in from this LTV stable source that is recurring giving. So we can see this long run of upward trend. I do want to note here, you'll see 2025 is a little bit of an anomaly because we saw a little drop. That 27% a monthly share, it's not a reversal of the long-term trend. overall, the benchmarking found monthly giving programs are still growing, steadily growing. But what happened in 2025 was more of a reflection of a large one-time giving surge that we saw, particularly in the U.S. because of the government cuts to public media in particular. So that kind of has skewed the results a little bit, but we're still seeing this upward trend of monthly giving having a larger share of online revenue. So from a very kind of practical standpoint, if you're looking at how do I kind of start on a digital sustainer journey or a digital monthly donor, there's kind of 4 things we wanted to just highlight. So one is the hook. Basically, what are we going to use to get people in? And Margaret will so kindly show you some examples of some of the ads that they're running in terms of like, how do we use a specific problem to and have monthly be the solution. And I think Margaret and the CCS team have done a really good job thinking about that. The call to action, we need to think about it a little differently. As Alex talked about with the subscription model and a 99-cent, a month subscription, does dollar a day make sense for your organization? Does framing it as the most impactful way to give, does that make sense? The most sustainable way to give. Think about the best way to communicate your organization's unique monthly selling proposition. And also consider using a monthly match. We've seen a lot of success with organizations who use a monthly match to kind of drive the monthly and kind of push people to convert to monthly. The immediate upsell. So this is a feature that comes with Fundraise Up, but using light boxes, pop-ups on the thank you page. Fundraise Up uses it throughout the entire donation flow. Margaret will show you some examples of that to try to get people to convert to monthly in the donation process. And also of note, to make sure that you have a monthly ask in your one-time gift welcome series. The best time to get someone to convert to monthly is when they've just made a one-time gift. So if you can make sure that's included in your one-time gift welcome series. And then an interesting anecdote, SMS is a channel that continues to grow for us. And, we've really seen that digital donors who give us their SMS, who opt into SMS updates, are 60% more likely to stay active if they've kind of opted in. So make that a priority on your form to try and capture someone's SMS. And also SMS is a great channel to kind of cut through the email clutter and really make sure you're getting your message across to donors. So before I turn it over to Margaret, we've just gone through we had our quarterly planning meeting and was provided some data. And I asked Margaret, I was like, hey, can I share this data? Because it really shows the impact. And she so kindly said, yeah, we can share it. So I found out IRL is not what the kids say anymore, but in real life example. So if we look at the Canadian Cancer Society's data, they've really taken this monthly first approach. But even in the current data set, if we continue to increase the conversion from one-time gift to monthly by just 2 to 3 percentage points, it's equivalent to 10 to 15% growth in their monthly file. And from a revenue perspective, an LTV perspective, it's a 15 to 25% increase. So I just wanted to share this because I think often people are like, oh man, we're going to do this, but they're only giving a small amount. But this really does indicate if you can move that conversion rate by just a couple percentage points, it has a huge impact on your overall file size and subsequently then your LTV revenue. Okay, so with that, we're going to turn it over to Margaret to give us a deep dive into CCS.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jess. All right. Hello, everyone. I am Margaret Milday. I am located in Hamilton, Ontario. I live here with my daughter and my husband and my 2 dogs, Sally and Steve. Steve is in the top right corner wearing his very dapper turtleneck. He gets cold. And yes, there's a picture of my daughter in a garden. That is the Royal Botanical Gardens. That is not my garden. Jess and I share gardening photos. Mine look nothing like that. But it's a journeyman's trade. We're getting there. We're growing. Things are going to be great. I'm very excited to talk to you about recurring giving today and how we've sort of grown our monthly giving file, particularly on the digital end, using some AI tools. So this wasn't a big focus at CCS until around 2023. I'm on the digital fundraising team, and the team decided that we wanted to pilot something. And it was, instead of presenting users with a one-time ask, the first ask we were going to present them with was a monthly ask. And then if they wanted to step down to a one-time, we weren't going to say no. That was going to be on the page as well. But what would happen if we led with a monthly giving ask on digital channels? It was a small pilot. It launched on Meta, and it began to scale because we were seeing really good results. So at that point in time, of our total digital donor giving base, 6% was recurring, and we were looking to move the needle on that. But as Jess pointed out, you don't want to lose all of your OTG donors. Spoiler alert, you're not going to. People still want to give just one time. That's still very appealing to a lot of people, but can you increase the lifetime of a certain percentage by asking them to donate monthly, which turned out to be something we were able to do. Okay, so over the past 3 years, we've steadily increased the investment into the Always On Digital Acquisitions program. And there have been a few AI tools that have helped us achieve some growth. So the total share of our recurring online donors in 2025 is now is 10% compared to 6%. What I think is more impressive about that number is that donor base has grown exponentially as well. So it's 10% of a donor base that has increased significantly, as well has increased significantly in terms of recurring donors. And our average gift has increased by 23%. So we're seeing huge increases there. And a lot of that can be attributed to using AI in the tools, and maybe not AI in the way that you think about using AI when you're sort of scrolling on your socials or watching the news. And I can walk you through what that kind of looks like on Fundraise Up specifically, and then I'll talk about a few other places that we're using AI. So in Fundraise Up, in the checkout modal and the campaign page, there are all these options for you to turn on AI or turn it off. We opted to just have everything turned on and let the machine learning and the AI tell us if it was working or not, and we'd be able to see in real time what was happening and make decisions there. So the first place that you'd see it is in the displayed donation amounts. AI is deciding this is the type of person who's going to give this amount, is likely to give this amount. And I think that's the place where we're seeing the average monthly gift really go up, because we're not making assumptions about what they want to give. We're relying on the AI learning to tell us what people want to do and let the person decide for themselves, which has made a big impact for us. If someone selects OTG, so we have it defaulted to monthly, all the messaging on the page is around giving monthly, but if someone decides to give OTG, there's a pre-donation upsell that asks them to convert their gift to a monthly donation. That has proven to be very effective, and we'll show that on the next slide. Another feature that I love is if OTG, or one-time giving dedication, is selected, then the pre-donation annual recurring upsell is shown. So instead of making that one-time donation and forgetting about it, it's now sent on an annual recurring basis, which then allows you to upgrade that person year after year. If you want to ask them for a higher donation amount, you've then increased their lifetime value exponentially without worrying about that attrition or retention. They're in your flow. A great feature is the AI determination of the pre-selection of the platform fee coverage. So depending on the person and what AI is able to determine about them, they may or may not pre-select that coverage link at the bottom. More times than not, people select that and don't unselect it, and it's an amazing way to offset some of your costs because it's a percentage of the donation, and it is excellent. We also have the post-donation recurring upsell on. So if someone completes their donation, they're then prompted to like Jess has mentioned, make that second gift to increase their lifetime value. And it's a recurring upsell as well. So we just have all of this stuff turned on pretty much across all of our campaigns and all of our donation modals. There are certain cases where we might not, if it's for a corporate partner or something like that. There are instances where we are very intentional in turning it off. But for general forms, these things are turned on and we let them run. And that also increases the learning of the platform, right? It's a benefit to everyone if we're able to track donor behavior so we can better present the forms and use the learnings to grow the base. And then I will talk about some of the results that we've seen in the past year from this. So in the past fiscal, The pre-donation upsell has resulted in $171,000 in increased revenue in the year. The post-donation upsell resulted in $72,000, and the adaptive cost coverage, just that little box, was almost $240K a year. So these very, very small AI nudges that Alex referenced earlier are resulting in incremental revenue that actually has a big difference. I had mentioned the average monthly gift is increased by 23%. We are seeing more annual gifts being made, and that's not impacting that number. That recurring number isn't going down because we're seeing more annual gifts. Our monthly gift is still raising steadily, which is fantastic to see. And the annual share of our recurring base, so that annual gift that I mentioned with the dedication upsell, is now 10% of our recurring base. So those are people who may have given once and never come back to CCS, and now they're in our pipeline and we're able to steward them and upgrade them. One thing I want to mention to you is Fundraise Up has upgrade links for your recurring donors that makes it incredibly easy to drive people through email to increase their monthly donation. We ran a test with this year, and the average increase amount was $14. People were increasing their monthly donation by $14 a month, which is something we're going to continue to use. And I believe there's maybe some new features. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in the platform, but that is a great way to increase the lifetime value of your existing recurring donors as well.
And Margaret, just on the annual, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did not have like a annual recurring program before you were able to turn on this tribute. Yeah. So that's like a net new recurring stream.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's happening right now is they go into our, it's our monthly sort of journey, but we use the term recurring in the language. So there isn't sort of confusion for folks when they've signed up for annual, but are reserving a monthly package. And that's how we sort of mitigate that risk. And I'm going to talk about AI and creative a little bit, because I know this can be a sensitive topic. So maybe a few of you or many of you are using Google Performance Max, and this is a platform that relies heavily on AI, but probably not in the way that you think about. Like, you're not going to be creating videos with people with 12 fingers. It's not going to be some janky representation of your brand. I pulled examples of ads that actually Stella created for us, focusing on world-leading cancer research in Canada. And basically, you have a few variations of the creative you want to use. You write the copy, you design them how you like, and then you pair them with a bunch of different descriptive copy options. You put the correct sizes into the platform, and it decides what combination of copy and creative is going to go together and what's going to be the most effective. And then we use broad targeting. We use machine learning targeting. We don't do hyper targeting or hyper specific targeting. And you let the machine go. It's the easiest way to leverage AI, is just to let it do its thing and let go of some of the reins. Still have creative control over what's going out there, but it's the combinations of the creative that are driving your results, and not limiting you to sort of maybe your human bias. I certainly will think that something's going to work really, really well. And it doesn't. And this takes this out of the equation. You can test a bunch of different ideas and a bunch of different creative, and let the audience and the platforms decide what's actually working. So that's sort of that any sort of guesswork that you put into it, you can take out, and just run with your ideas and see what's going to garner the best results. Performance Max also complements your search strategy. If you're in search and Performance Max, it's a great combination of tools to use, and an easy way to kind of dip your toe into AI without feeling like you're compromising any sort of creative integrity or duping your audience. It's still all work that's being done by people, but in terms of driving revenue, that's where you're using the AI.
Yeah, say we can connect Google using UTMs and Google Tag, not to get too technical, Google Tag Manager to Fundraise Up to basically optimize for monthly donors. So basically, Alex clicks this form and completes a monthly donation. I click the form and I complete a one-time gift. Okay, I'm okay. Alex is great. Find more Alexes, less Jesses. So we can actually, that's kind of built into the tool, which is great too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that comes down to how you structure your Google account, whether you're doing it in-house or you using an agency. That's something to talk about on your bid strategy, and come up with a plan on who you want to target and how. And that will allow you to kind of set the goals in your account that lead to the results that you want. Something that I don't have a slide for, but I wanted to talk about was Dataro, which is also a predictive modeling tool that pairs very beautifully with Fundraise Up. Basically, you layer it into your CRM and it looks at your contacts and tells you all sorts of amazing things about them. Donors who are at risk of not donating again, who is most likely to upgrade. I talked about those Fundraise Up upgrade links. You pull a list from Dataro that says, these are the people who you should look to upgrade now. And you can deploy an email quickly to a relatively small group of people and see what the results are. And it's not just limited to digital. That's a tool that can also be used for direct mail, which is where we've piloted it now. And now we're extending it to digital marketing. I'm working with Jess on that, and very excited to see the results. But these are all sort of complementary tools that work together in sort of smaller AI ways, right? To really incrementally drive the revenue and increase the lifetime value of your donors.
Okay. AI misconceptions. I think, Alex, we're going to walk through some of these.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been like two letters that have been like this uncertain and fuzzy, but also like unclear and scary at the same time. And that comes with some, I think, like hesitations and some misconceptions and myths. And I think it's important that we address those, right? So there are 6 of them that I'll go through really briefly. And the first one is that AI might compromise my donor security. And the reality here is that modern AI infrastructure, like you see in tools like Agentforce Nonprofit and in Fundraise Up, use existing security models and really focus on anonymized behavioral metadata, not PII. And so when we look at a donor that's donating for the first time and we're trying to understand their likelihood to give, we don't know any personal information about that donor, but we do know things about like their behavior on the site and all of that. And so all of that data has no compromise on that donor security, but gives us a great way to maximize that donation. Another myth that we hear is that we need a really complex AI strategy first. And there are arguments for this, right? But then you think about how are we using AI, right? And how is it being deployed? AI strategy in terms of generating content and things like that may require more care than when you have AI embedded in infrastructure. And the way that we're approaching this is, at the moment of decision, AI is built in not to decide anything for the donor other than make suggested amounts and determine whether or not that person is likely to upsell. So rather than AI being a bolt-on or AI being a complex strategy you have to establish first, it becomes just part of the infrastructure and the experience that's almost invisible. And another thing we hear all the time, and there are cases where this is true, that AI is replacing human relationships, but in the case of when we're using AI as infrastructure, what it allows you to do is really remove friction and allow humans to do what they do best, which is identify community and identify segments and drive strategy for that long-term retention. So I think these are 3 big ones. And the other 3 that I wanted to talk about are first, like, we're not ready for AI. And because of the ways that organizations like Fundraise Up are using AI, you can migrate to this without needing to prepare your own data sets, without needing to prepare complex strategies, because we're able to leverage a multitude of data from almost a decade of experience to advise the models on day one. And so you don't need to do a lot of preparation work to get ready for AI as infrastructure when you use the right partners. Another thing we hear is AI requires deep technical expertise. And I will tell you that for sure, there are many people that are using AI way better than I am personally. You can do a ton with AI if you've got the right depth of technical expertise. But the great thing is that modern AI is designed to be really accessible. And so when you're adopting an AI solution, I think the biggest thing to think about is not the technical complexity that might be associated with it, because now platforms have made all that technical complexity, they've sorted it all out, made it really simple for us to interact with. Now it's, how do we understand the change management, right? Like, how in our organization are we going to incorporate AI in other areas, or in communications and things like that? And then the last one here is that AI is just a guessing tool, right? AI is just making its best guess. And there is truth to that, right? That it is a best guess, but it turns out that when you base that best guess on a lot of data, then you get a really, really good guess. And so when we look at donor behavior over time, and we talked a little bit about the donor behavior and trends at the beginning of this presentation with some of the things we observed in that Pulse of the Donor report, you start to understand what likely behavior looks like. And then you're able to really deliver these stable results that optimize that donor experience. And so I think these two letters, right? These two big scary letters, when you look at a couple of things, one, like using it as infrastructure, and two, looking at it as an accessible tool as part of the experience, then they become a little less scary.
Okay, so what do you do Monday morning? Because today's Thursday. No one's going to, it's Friday. So Monday, we'll skip over to Monday.
Friday ask.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Little Friday. I don't know. So two kind of takeaways that you can implement on Monday morning. So option one.
Yeah. So option one, I think, would be test a pre-donation upsell that asks your one-time donors to go monthly. So there's kind of two things here, right? One, if you don't have one, add it, right? So when folks are coming in to make a one-time gift, implement an ask for a monthly donation instead. If you do have one, test the copy that leads with, and make sure that it leads with impact over time, right? Not just the ask to say, hey, can you do monthly, but really focus on the impact. And this is based in, right, all of that data. So Margaret shared amazing results. And we see that this upsell, if you do it in the right way, can give you a 10% lift in recurring conversion. So this is option number one for something to do on Monday morning. What is option number two?
Okay, it's a little more in depth, but we're going to let Margaret talk about it.
So I'm sure a lot of you maybe have a one-time giving ask that's always on. What if you turned it into a monthly donation ask that was always on? What would happen? Can you add an ad set in that is monthly and see if that has good results? How quickly can you turn that around? Change your conversion goals. Set them with your agency or with your in-house team to make sure that they're fulfilling on that lifetime value. How are you getting that? Look at those goals that are in platform and see what you can adjust and customize to meet your needs. Don't just run with what's there. That's one of the places where you do want to be customizing and thinking about the ultimate goal. And can you default your donation form to monthly first? So part of the make a monthly donation ask, your ad says make a monthly donation, set that donation form to monthly. So when people go there, it's the first thing they're going to do. They're not even going to look at the OTG link. They will, but have that as the default option when your ad is focused on monthly as well, and see what happens. Run it as a test and glean those learnings and see where you can optimize and grow.
And what I would just note is I will say we had a lot of conversation back and forth around the actual button in the ad saying make a monthly donation. And we went round and round and round saying like, you shouldn't do that. It's too early. And like, it's like asking for engagement at the first date dinner. Like, no. And, but we've tested it and it's shown that it works. And what's nice about digital is you can run a test and you don't have to wait like 3 months to see the results and say like, okay, now we know the results. So the next time you can run it for 2 weeks and be like, okay, it is not working. We're having a drop in conversion. There's no click through. People are, and then pivot. So it reduces some of the risk that like traditionally when we test, we have such a long tail to figure out if a test worked or not. It removes some of that risk. So I would just say that to encourage you to take the risk and see what happens. Okay, we've left time for questions, which I'm so thrilled about. So these are the resources. I think these will all be sent out. I know someone already posted, I think, the Pulse of the Donor report. There's some of my information, a link to our blog. So, feel free to reach out to myself, Alex, Margaret too. I'm sure wouldn't mind if you reach out directly to her if you have questions. Okay, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. So I'm going to stop sharing if I can figure out how to stop sharing. Okay, I think I did that. Okay, let me see if I can open up the questions and we'll see. Okay, I have one at the top. For Margaret, do you have buttons on your homepage, one for monthly and one for OTG, or is it donate and then it takes them to a default form?
Yeah, so on our homepage, we do have an always on button that just says donate, and that is defaulted to OTG because what we found, and this is a good learning, when we launched Fundraise Up, we had every single form defaulted to monthly. Not every form talked about the importance of donating monthly. Our always on digital acquisition program that was run through paid talked about monthly in our ads. It talked about monthly on the landing page, but that always on button didn't because it's a general donation form. People may not be thinking about donating. People are getting information about cancer. People are reaching out to find out more about clinical trials. It's almost a softer ask in that top button. So that button specifically is OTG because what we were seeing when it was defaulted to monthly is that we were getting a lot of monthly cancellations and people who are accidentally starting monthly donations who did not mean to. And that's not the experience we want to give our donors. It's also a lot of work on our end to be fielding those through our donor care team and have to be updating them. So we made a business decision that defaulted to monthly would be explicitly on pages where we're talking about monthly giving and they're part of an ad campaign that is focused on monthly in the ad creative as well.
Okay. Question for Alex. Alex, if we have a custom GPT for our organization, oh boy, this is now out of my depth. Can it be leveraged by Fundraise Up AI to enhance personalization and brand alignment? Ignore if this isn't a thing.
That's a great question. So yes, more AI tends to be great. So if you have a custom GPT, it's going to depend on what you're using to drive that GPT. But what we found is that when you want to use PII data, let's say, like we know who the donor is, right? And so I understand that they've given this many times, and this is the average that they give, and you want to plug that into a GPT, and then use an email campaign to prompt that individual for a gift. Then within Fundraise Up, you actually have the ability to use, we call our URL API, but you can use that GPT to generate the ask amount for that individual when they open up the link from that email. So now you've hyper-personalized based on your knowledge of the donor and your GPT that might have taken in that donor information in and pre-populated that ask amount for the donor. So yes, you can use your custom GPT.
Okay. Margaret, were you worried about first turning on all the AI on, and do you publicize anywhere you are using AI?
Not worried about turning the AI on. I think excited for the learnings and to see what was going to happen with it. And that's proven to be a good option and easy enough to turn off. Like it's literally, you toggle it off if it's not working, right? If it's making you nervous or you're getting a lot of complaints, then it's easy to toggle off. We don't disclose that we're using AI anywhere because AI is not developing any of the information. So, you know, we are technically a health charity, right? We provide cancer information that all needs to be written by a human being. Like Alex was saying, these are nudges that are built into the infrastructure. They aren't actually developing any of the information that we're sharing outwardly. So we don't need to use an AI disclaimer. Also, I mean, I think there's still guardrails being put in place by government bodies about where you need to disclose and what you need to disclose when you're using AI. That's something that's sort of new, I think, for a lot of places. But this is one of those instances where, because AI isn't creating what we're presenting, and we're not disclosing that we're using AI.
Okay. Margaret, another question for you. What are the best CTAs for converting donors that you found? For example, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no, finish the question. Sorry.
Say, for example, on Instagram or monthly newsletters.
Yeah, I think the simpler, the better. We've tested really long emotional CTAs. We've tested shorter ones. Donate now. Like on Instagram, especially, donate now. Simple, to the point, direct. Keep your CTA clear, and that's where you'll get the best results.
Okay, for Alex, is there a best practice around suggested monthly gift size?
Yes. So we are using AI to determine that suggested monthly gift. Now, like we have a couple of different models that come into play here. So if someone comes in as a one-time donor and they see a gift array, they will see a suggested gift amount for their one-time gift. And if they start making that gift, if we determine that they are likely to be a monthly donor, then we can prompt them to become a monthly donor with that upsell. We don't just divide that one-time gift by 12. We use another model to say, like, hey, if this person is considering monthly, what should that ask amount be? And the model is adapting to that and then coming up with a brand new predetermined ask for that individual. And so as Margaret said, right, when you turn the AI on, the AI learns and will adapt to understand what that donor is likely to give on a monthly basis.
Okay. For Margaret, is CCS only digital, or do you have a direct response mail program? If so, how are you using the mail to steward and cultivate monthly donors?
What a great question. So CCS is newly digital. Digital is still fairly new to the organization. Direct mail has been the bread and butter of the organization for years. We have a monthly donor journey that they get a beautiful package when you sign up to be a recurring donor. That has a very small premium in it, like a beautiful bookmark, so nothing too flashy, and a really nice package of storytelling. And then there's a monthly stewardship that also goes through email as well. Monthly is also an ask that's featured in our direct mail as well. So it's sort of integrated into every part of our acquisition and conversion strategy.
Okay, I will take this question around time frame to calculate donor lifetime value. So typically we do recommend you look at like 12 months. What's the donor lifetime value after 12 months? And then the other figure we are really interested in, if you look at the cost to acquire and how long does it take for you to kind of retain or to make up that investment. So there's some channels from a monthly perspective where the cost to acquire is very high, like face-to-face, for example. So looking at a donor lifetime value of the donor comes in, how long does that donor have to stay in for you to then kind of make up that investment? And then I would compare lifetime value of one-time givers versus recurring. Look at your mid-level, as well. Legacy, how long has someone been on your file and then made a legacy bequest? There's lots of different ways to look at it, but we really like to look at it 12 months, kind of the first kind of road mark we look at. Okay, Alex, what data from our database does Fundraise Up use for determining ask specific info?
Great question. So we typically don't. So we look at the donor behavior as, like I said before, like non-PII data. What is that donor's behavior on the site, et cetera? If you know who the donor is, then, as Margaret said, you have upgrade links that are part of Fundraise Up. What those allow you to do are two things. One, to convert one-time givers into monthly donors, or two, to ask your monthly donors to increase their gift by a small amount. And that is contextually aware, right? So that is based on their previous donation. That will take into, the AI will take that into account when asking for how much that donor would like to uplift their gift or become a monthly donor at. And it turns out that these things, leveraging your existing donor base with the upgrade links that allow folks to increase their gift with a click, about 45% of folks are willing to upgrade their gift. And it's as much as about 70% that folks are willing to upgrade by. So it's a great way to leverage the existing donor base in order to understand that. So I'd say when we're looking at a first-time donor, we don't know anything about them other than their behaviors, what time of day is it, what device they're on, things like that. But when we know the donor, the upgrade links can leverage the information about their previous donation to make a better suggestion.
Okay, and we have 4 minutes left, so we'll do a question for all of us really quickly. So we are preparing to switch to a monthly first approach with the launch of our new recurring donor community. Yay, so exciting for this person. What tips or advice do you have or others as we make this shift? And they are using Fundraise Up. So I'll start really quickly. One, yay, congratulations. Two is, I would say, make sure you have a good kind of onboarding journey, welcome journey for your monthly donors. And also the second thing I would say is to just be prepared from a reporting standpoint. You are moving from a one-time gift model, which brings one gift, larger value in that moment of time, to a smaller gift over several months. So we've had clients who've made the switch to Fundraise Up, and we'll look at this month over last month or last year, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're so far behind from a dollar figure. But then when we look at what's actually happening, it's that they've brought in so many more monthly donors who are worth so much more than the donors we brought in last May. So it's having a little bit more of a long range view on your metrics as you make this shift in the next little bit. Okay, Margaret, over to you, and then Alex will let you finish it off.
Yeah, I think that's great, Jess. I would also speak to looking at your CRM being in your data and talking about the evolution and the change management of how you're reporting. We've had lots of conversations about this with our agency partners, including Stella. Are we including lifetime value when reporting on these numbers? Are we providing two numbers, which is, what do we call it? The water in the bathtub?
Yeah, water in the bathtub.
Money in the door, like what actually came in last month? What were your first installments and what were your one-time gifts? And then what was the total of all of your recurring gifts and the subsequent installments that came in after, and segmenting it out that way and providing leadership, here's what we're looking at, up front. It may not look like a lot, but here's the lifetime value. One thing I'll say too, we talked a little bit about lifetime value earlier. When you're establishing lifetime value, because digital was new, we look to our offline monthly donors to determine, okay, what is their average lifespan? Is it 5 years? Is it 7 years? And then we could extrapolate from there. And so we're using that as a model right now to set a benchmark for our digital monthly donors. And that will change as our monthly donor digital program becomes more mature. We have more years of data. We'll be able to kind of hone in on that. But just having a baseline or a benchmark to start with is a great jumping off point too.
Okay. And Alex, finish it up.
Your website does a great job at explaining your mission and explaining impacts. And I would say put the ask where that is. Engage folks in that story. So the use of elements in Fundraise Up, being able to embed the ask where it's most relevant, I think is a good part of that strategy and that shift.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I think all of us, I'll speak for all of us, we could talk about this like for a very long time. So reach out. We would be happy to even get the band back together to talk to you about it if you wanted to. So yes, please feel free to reach out if you have other questions. Like I said, the recording will be shared. All the resources will be shared, but please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you want to continue the conversation. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.